Kayshon Boutte is headed to the NFL. And if you were just reading this headline after not watching college football for the last year, I'll walk that back. If you have just not followed college football since December 1st, you drop back in, you say Kayshon Boutte is heading to the NFL. You say that makes a whole lot of sense. Probably going to get drafted really high, probably one of the better receivers in this draft. Good for him. Go make some money. Well, for those of us that have been tuned in the duration of this college football season up to and including last night, this is a little bit confusing because he had said earlier in the month, you know what, I'm so excited to run it back for one more year at LSU and go and try and win a national championship, this kind of unfinished business sort of mindset. This is a little bit surprising. It all started, for me at least, the red flag went up when it became public that he wasn't going to be playing in the Citrus Bowl. The way it was worded from LSU was he would be unavailable. So, okay, that's a little bit funky. And then you backtrack even further to what Brian Kelly said about he and Kayshon Boutte's relationship after he decided he was coming back, and he said it's still evolving. That language, I think, is very interesting because the question was, hey, tell us about you and Kayshon Boutte's relationship and how that's developed since he's been at LSU, or since you've been at LSU, rather. And to me, that reporter just took a softball question, put it on the tee, and said, Brian Kelly knocked this out of the park. Tell us how happy you are that he's coming back. Tell us about how good your relationship is now since he scrubbed his social media, and just tell us all the good things. Give me a headline. And you say evolving? Evolving means it's not there yet. Evolving means it's progressing, it's getting there. But tell you what, if I tell you that my best friend and I have an evolving relationship, we're probably not best friends. And I'm not even asking Brian Kelly and Kayshon Boutte to be best friends, but in a moment where at that point in time he decided to come back to LSU and you use the verbiage evolving, I don't know anything. I don't have any insight. I'm not within that locker room, but I have a hard time believing that it was just the smoothest of sailing between Brian Kelly and Kayshon Boutte. Again, I don't know anything. I could be way off base there, but I'm just saying, I think that's a little bit intriguing in terms of the verbiage that he uses right there. The other thing that I think is confusing about this, the reasons why Kayshon Boutte said he was coming back was to try and win a national title. Every reason he cited to come back to LSU were about his team. Nothing changed in 3 weeks, dude. Y'all didn't play a game. Far be it for me to question Kayshon Boutte's decision-making, but the reasoning for coming back didn't change. It'd be one thing if, okay, you know what, Jayden Daniels is going to the NFL. I think we have a better chance winning with Jayden Daniels on our team. Maybe that's how he felt. And if he did feel that way and Jayden Daniels leaves, then I think you're allowed to reassess a little bit as a wide receiver. But nothing within the roster really drastically changed. Brian Kelly's still the head coach, still going to have the same OC. Team will look roughly the same as when you decided you were going to come back. So this is a little bit of a head scratcher to me. I don't know all that went into this, but to say you were going to come back and then decide you're not going to come back feels like something would have had to happen internally. I'm speculating. Very much so. I want to make sure that's clear. I don't have any inside reporting, but that's just the way that this feels to me, starting with the whole Citrus Bowl being unavailable thing. Okay? If you haven't yet subscribed, now is the time. We have had, I would say, upwards of 4,000 of you from the LSU faithful alone join us this past season. We're so glad you're here. We got you covered 12 months out of the year. College football is a year-round sport. We covered accordingly. So come join the party. Come join the program. We're going to keep this thing moving forward in the right direction. Also, follow me on Instagram and Twitter to stay up with everything we're doing here. A lot of interaction there that we can incorporate into this show, all right? So there's another facet of this. Yes, it's confusing. Yes, it doesn't really add up. It feels a little bit funky to me, but here's the other part of that. When all the dust settles on Kayshon Boutte's decision to leave for the NFL, like in a few months from now we're talking about this, it makes a lot of sense. This wasn't the staff that recruited him, that he committed to when he decided to go be an LSU Tiger. This wasn't the program that he signed up for from a staff perspective, okay? So that's one. Also, he wasn't really getting the targets that a receiver of his caliber probably deserves. Some of that's a first-year staff, and some of that is his role in the offense. There's a lot of different variables that go into that. But if you're supposed to be one of the top receivers drafted and you only have 40-ish catches on the year, I understand that. Why would you come back and have a similar stat line? Or even more so, you're going to tell me you're going to get 50 catches or 60 catches next year. Like, maybe that sweetens it for me a little bit, but I haven't seen that in this offense. I don't feel confident that's going to happen based on this season. So if I'm Kayshon Boutte, I'm saying, all right, you know what? I appreciate everything y'all did here, but really, my NFL draft stock is probably as high as it's going to be. I'm going to go ahead and take the money on the table and do what's best for me and my family. And that's the other thing. The reason why I'm actually okay with this, the timeline is weird. I wish you had said this originally. I wish you had just let us know off the top that, hey, I'm going to the NFL. I don't think there's quite as much confusion, and maybe this isn't quite a story. But honestly, here's my rule. When you have a family, it's time to be a pro at anything you're doing. Kayshon Boutte just had a child this past season. It's time to go be a pro. You don't need to be worrying about class. You don't need to be worrying about showing up for different things that have to do with college life, whether it's, tutoring sessions or study hall, whatever it is. When you have a family, you got mouths to feed, it's time to be a pro. I'll give you a quick personal story on this. For me, I was fortunate enough to have an 8-to-5 job and also be able to do this kind of thing on the side. So I'd go do my lunch break and go hit a couple videos, knock those out, come back to my job, finish at the office. That was my ebb and flow for a while. And I loved it. And it was a great setup. But the reality was, I knew that when I got married, it would be time to become a pro. At one of those things, whether it was continuing to grind on the YouTube channel or whether I just full-fledged commit to the office life. Like, when you have somebody else counting on you, your profession becomes a little bit more important. And so for Kayshon Boutte, you got a mouth to feed, man. I respect it. Go and be all that you can be in the NFL and become a professional. So I think, honestly, that's something that we're going to look at over the course of time and say, you know what? Was it executed perfectly? Probably not. Would you, if you're Kayshon Boutte, even if you had a chance to do it over, would you do it differently? I think so. But you can't fault the guy for wanting to become a professional, for wanting to be at the most elite level of what he loves doing. He now has a chance to do, and he's going to go do it, as everybody knew he would at some point in time, whether it was this year or next year. Nobody had doubts that Kayshon Boutte was going to play for an NFL football team. So in the long run, where is LSU at now? You're without Kayshon Boutte, who, like we've said ad nauseum, is an elite talent. Here's the thing, though. I think LSU is actually going to be okay. Do you ever want to lose a talented piece like Kayshon Boutte? Of course not. There's no such thing as addition by subtraction when it comes to a talent like Kayshon Boutte. You have a pretty talented wide receiver room that I think has a chance to be really, really good in the years to come. A couple of names that I think will need to step up in this coming year. Malik Neighbors was your leading receiver this past year to the tune of 63 receptions, 854 yards, 2 touchdowns. I think he has to take that next step. He was phenomenal this year. If he can take the next step for LSU, I think that helps soften the loss of someone like Kayshon Boutte. Brian Thomas, a guy they're really excited down there. 6'4", 210 pounds, 27 catches this year. He's a great physical presence, can really help you in the red zone, especially with the way that he's just a problem from a mismatch perspective that just can't be solved with his size. I think he's a guy that has to take that next step, and I imagine that he will in this offense from Mike Denbrock. Here's a name that a lot of LSU fans are fired up about, and for good reason. 5-star Shelton Sampson Jr. He is, according to us here at On 3, a top 5 receiver in the entire country. All 50 states, count him up. You're not finding many better than him. He has a unique blend of size and speed. He's been clocked at sub 4'4", and he's also 6'4". Okay, so that size and catch radius mixed with that elite athleticism are going to make him a problem. I'm not in those coaching staff meetings. I'm not on the call with Shelton Sampson and Mike Denbrock, but I would imagine there is going to be more of an opportunity for him now to play early, if that wasn't already the plan for him. So the deal for LSU is, schematically, you were sort of a pass-second team. You would run to set up the pass. And that's great. If that's who you want to be, that's phenomenal. You played for the SEC title last year. Obviously, it worked to a degree. And if these guys can step up for you, I think you're in Kendrick Lamar mode. I really do. I think we're going to be all right. That's what I'm saying if I'm in that locker room. Do you ever want to lose Kayshon Boutte? Of course not. But with the guys that you have available and with the kind of offense you run, we're going to be all right. Okay? So for LSU, Kayshon Boutte, I'm sure everyone in Baton Rouge and beyond wishes him the best. Unfortunate, the series of events that led up to this with saying he was going to come back and then changing his mind. We're all human. We're all just doing our best here. Kayshon Boutte. From us here at The Hard Count in our program, wishing you nothing but the best. But Kayshon Boutte is headed to the NFL. Hey, y'all. Thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also, be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.